One of the things in the supposed myriad of customization that 343 has added to Halo Infinite is the way that you can customize your Spartan's identity. You have representation for those who are missing limbs, you have different body shapes to fit ambiguously designated genders, and this is supposed to create, your own unique Spartan. However, I feel like when it comes to the topic of gender, 343 kind of tiptoes around because, let's be honest, the Halo games have become a big bloated misshape of what they once were. Their identity, like Call of Duty, has really been lost, and it's more about creating a product that appeals to the most amount of people, the masses. And one thing you don't want to do when making a product that appeals to the masses is piss someone off, become an outrage article, whereas sometimes that helps stuff sell. It also can keep people away from your game and can have them boycott your game. So I feel like this tends to be the motivator for the weird kind of, or not weird, but ambiguous sort of gender designations. And this is all fine and dandy for Halo Infinite. I mean, that's a fresh game made today, do what you want with it. But then 343 has also gone back and removed the male and female option in Halo Reach's customization. Now, Halo Reach, of course, that's a whole nother spicy meatball because there you have a lot of sex appeal in the way the Spartans are gendered. Whereas the male Spartans are very top heavy, the female Spartans have an ass on them, an ass and a half. So I feel like they switched these two options to light armor and heavy armor because they feel like this is somehow outdated or they want to step away from sex appeal. I'm not too sure what exactly is going on, and this video isn't about guessing what 343 is thinking. It's about two things. One, recognizing that the people making these games, the people handling these games, feel that gender and the representation of it, specifically within the Spartans, is an issue or is a topic worth spending time and resources, whether you're updating an older game or making a new one, making sure that, the idea of gender fits a certain parameter for your company. And two, is going to be more so my take on whether or not Spartans should be gendered. Because I feel like within the history of Halo, this is an interesting question that we can look at from a lot of different ways. So with that in mind, I'm Pliskin, and today, this isn't me telling you how things should be, this isn't me complaining about the way certain things have been portrayed, this is me asking an honest question, looking at the concept of a Spartan, how it's evolved in regards to a Spartan's identity, and trying to answer whether or not Spartans should or should not be gendered.
You see nipple? Me thirsty.
Now, if we go back to the start with Halo 1, this wasn't too much of an issue because every Spartan was just a different colored Master Chief. If you're playing, red versus blue with team play, you're either red Master Chiefs or you're blue Master Chiefs. If you're playing a free-for-all or if you're just messing around with your friends, you're a certain color of Master Chief. At this point here in the lore, he was the only remaining Spartan alive. Although there is some ambiguity in regards to what a Spartan is and how they're made at this point, since some of the maps refer to them as clones, and in the manual it's much less about the power armor and more about a cyborg being in there, so whether or not Master Chief could even be considered fully human is up for debate. And if you're not fully human, then the whole topic of gender kind of becomes a lot weirder to define. But yeah, in Halo 1 it was very straightforward and simple. You were just a different colored Master Chief. Halo 2, the exact same thing. At this point here, it was still going with the whole narrative of Master Chief being the last Spartan around, having legendary status because of it, and when you played in the multiplayer, you were just a different color variation of that Mark 6 armor. Now, Halo 3 is where things get a little bit more interesting. Whereas in the lore, Master Chief is still the last Spartan, which is why the Marines always make such a big deal when they see him. Now in the multiplayer, you could customize your Spartan's armor. Now, I know that in MCC there's a voice option for male or female. I don't really remember that being a customization option. Fact check me on that. But this was the first we saw of just creating a unique Spartan. The first we really saw of, instead of us inhabiting this giant metal armor, we were customizing and crafting the armor to more so showcase our own identity. But the body type was still very simple, very the same thing as Master Chief. Now, Halo Reach is where we first really started to see gendering of Spartans. You know, you have these Spartan 3s, it's a different kind of Spartan, so right off the bat they look fairly different from the very straightforward super soldier cyborg models of old, and they start looking a little bit more like people in armor. And if you look around at the different body types of Noble Team, they all look fairly unique. Their armor, their shapes, their silhouette, their faces, their voices. There's no doubt when you look at Kat and when you look at Emil, you can tell that this is a man and this is definitely a woman. You can tell that these are two very different people. It's no longer just different variations of Master Chief. Now it's just more unique individuals, individuality, and with that sense of individuality comes identity, and with identity comes very clear gender telegraphs. Hell, the only Spartan here that kind of looks, you know, just kind of blocky and original would be George, but that's probably because he's a Spartan 2, and Spartan 2s tend to have that look, which brings me to my first point or first idea. When you're making Halo games, if you're trying to, you know, appeal to different people who identify in different ways, if you have someone that doesn't want to take a choice between something that's very characteristic of male or characteristic of female and wants to go for something more ambiguous, maybe George, even though he's probably just looks this way because he's supposed to be the big guy rather than, you know, Spartan 2 anatomy, but George, and Spartan 2s by extension, could be that option for a non-binary player. Because again, Spartan 2s kind of have this history of being like, you can't tell what's under there. Again, look at Emil, look at Kat. It's no longer red versus blue. Those are two very different people, and I can tell a lot about them. But then if I look at George, or if I look at Master Chief, or if I look at the Spartan from Dead or Alive, they could all be the same person under there. It's hard for me to tell. Now you see, Dead or Alive 4 came out around the same time as Halo 3. And because Halo 3 had the Hayabusa armor, in reference to Ryu Hayabusa from the Ninja Gaiden series, the Dead or Alive developers decided to put in a Spartan to kind of, you know, nod back. And it's really cool to be able to play as a Spartan 2 and kick people's ass. Now, this Spartan, despite looking the same as Master Chief, is female, and you can tell this by her name and her voice. And this is a prime example of the Spartan 2's versatility in that more so ambiguous gender expression. Like, if this character did not speak, did not grunt, did not make any kind of noises, it would be very difficult for me to imagine who's under there. I'd probably just think it was Master Chief. But there's another example of this that I really like. Honestly, it's the motivator for this entire video. You see, there was this thing called Halo Legends that came out a little bit before Halo Reach came out, and yeah, it's a bunch of different animated shorts that expand on Halo lore, do stuff for shits and giggles, or completely shit on Halo lore. And while every single one of these Halo Legends are good in their own right, despite some definitely being better than others, there's one in particular that I want to talk about today. It's called the Babysitter. Now, right off the bat, the Babysitter is really cool because you're seeing this from the point of view of ODSTs. Now, ODSTs are one of the coolest parts of Halo because they're that halfway point between a regular dude and a Spartan. Just a hardened motherfucker doing the hardest jobs that this space military can throw at him. So these guys, rightfully so, have a reputation in the universe of being really tough. And they have this thing against Spartans because before Spartans came around, they were the end-all be-all. However, now that Spartans are a thing, they feel like they're playing second fiddle and their egos are hurt. And that's at the core of what this episode is about. Ego. So you see the episode starting off and there's some random dipshit who wants to go sit with the ODSTs and some guy stops him because, oh no man, those guys are like too hardcore for you. And then you get over to the table and you have these ODSTs sitting there and one of them is just whining and complaining. He can't believe that a backup sniper has been assigned to him because he's just the best shot and he doesn't need any help. And after 5 seconds of looking at this guy, you can tell he has a very bad case of little man syndrome, which makes him the best candidate for a protagonist in this ODST episode, because he embodies that kind of cockiness masking insecurity that ODSTs are kind of characteristic with when it comes to dealing with Spartans. Now, he finds out that he isn't assigned a backup unit to cover him while he's sniping, he is the backup unit. Now, while at first he starts freaking out, he learns that he's backing up a Spartan. Now, throughout the episode, we see time and time again how this Spartan is just so much bigger, stronger, faster, more adept. All the times that these ODSTs are making jokes or, making jabs and, showing their ego, the Spartan just doesn't respond. They don't even speak. This thing has almost an otherworldly presence to it. But naturally, our protagonist is constantly being saved by this Spartan and resents the Spartan for it. Because here, right in front of him, is everything this guy wants to be and everything he's insecure of. So he is a major prick to this Spartan throughout, because it's little man syndrome being intimidated by a big man. Now, towards the end of the episode, the Spartan gives their life to protect the protagonist. After the Spartan gives their life, the ODSTs are around, you have this moment where there's a shot that needs to be taken and the Spartan takes off their helmet, revealing the most feminine looking and sounding woman you could imagine. And at this moment, something just clicks within all the ODST members, but the protagonist specifically, that all this time I've been thinking about all this macho bullshit, competing with enemy that doesn't even really exist. And they start to understand the Spartans better, as it really can be anybody under there. They're not, big like that because they're just bigger, stronger dudes. None of this, beating on the chest type of bullshit. They are just different kinds of beings. So a Spartan could be that tall, do all that, but still look like a dollhouse character. And after the whole mission goes down, you have that same dipshit from the start of the episode try to sit down with them, and he's trying to, feed into their ego. And whereas at the beginning of the episode, they might have let him sit there because of that, now they can't stand it. After that Spartan sacrifice and the reveal of their identity and their gender showed just how stupid they've been acting with their whole macho behavior, with their whole idea of ego, they just throw the guy off at their fucking table. So I like this episode because of the way it handles Spartans, the Halo lore, ODSTs, but also gender identity in a way that's much more tactful than 90% of the shit that's produced today. And this Spartan here, I think her name is Cal, something like that. This Spartan here is the perfect example of how versatile, once again, Spartan 2s are at having that gender ambiguity. So why am I even talking about this? But what's the whole point? the whole point is to just show that, if 343 or future Halo developers want to make, Spartans that are gender ambiguous, you don't need to have all these different body options and poses. You can just make a Spartan 2, and then you don't even need to put like voice work or anything in there. You could have a bunch of different voice options for different genders and non-binary options, but like, you don't need your Spartan to look feminine, masculine, or non-binary. They can just look like a Spartan 2, and our brains can fill in the gaps for you. And then, if you want to have Spartans that are much more gendered, just feature Spartan 3s, and there you go. There's your customization. You've covered pretty much every walk of life. You have a Spartan that anyone can really inhabit. If a player wants to, really look like a dude, play as a Spartan 3 male. You want to look like a chick, you play as a Spartan 3 female. And if you want to just keep that shit ambiguous, or if you want to keep it mysterious, or if you just want to look like a Spartan, not man, not woman, but a Spartan, then just feature a Spartan 2 that you can play as. Anyways, this is a not a usual topic for this channel, but I figured it would be an interesting one. What do you guys think on all this? Do you think 343 is handling this stuff well? Do you think it's right that game developers go back in time and rewrite certain customization options that aren't really a bad thing, that aren't really hurting anyone, just for the sake of fitting with their corporate model? What do you guys think of gender identity in general? I mean, let me know. Anyways, this has been Pliskin, over and out.
This is Solid Snake. Hey, subscribe to Pliskin Boy. God damn it.
You heard him.